Anna Tsui back. Did you know you're the first guest, my first guest who is actually back on the podcast? I never
All
had
right.
even a small urge, nothing to against my guests, but I'm like always person that wants to there's so many interesting people out there and I want to bring new
Smart.
people and new thoughts and new way of thinking. And you're the first guest,
All
the
right.
guest on the Good Company podcast. So I'm
Wow,
so
I am honored because it was so fun last time.
and I'm so honored for you giving me your time, your precious time. Anna Tsui, what changed? You are a spiritual business coach. You are an author. You are a mom. You are an energy healer, a light worker. Is there anything I can add here? Anything change or anything?
I'm a really bad baker, but I think that's okay because it keeps me slim. I feel bad for people who are married to really amazing bakers because you'll never lose weight.
No, yeah, baking is hard because you really have to follow directions, and I feel like you are also one of those people who is like more creative, more
Yes.
fluid, more lucid. And you just want to like create things versus like
Yes.
follow instructions, right?
Yes. So you and I have that in common. And I think it's really important for people to see people like us because growing up, like I didn't realize this, of course, but I had friends who all very consistent energy, right? And then later on, when I realized my human design was I'm super open,
Yeah.
that it's like impossible to be that consistent. And even with my posting, my writing, it's impossible. I just can't do it. I've tried to. I shame myself. I paid people to force me to do it. I still can't. And I just have to accept it, you know? So creative people are really like very open and we have our own time. We have our own process.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember this is an amazing thing that you're bringing it up. I remember when I was in corporate America, I had this feedback from one of my bosses who I did not really align with. And he told me, because you are not consistent. And I was like, but why I have to be consistent? So you are comfortable. And like, was the end of our, because that's the point, right? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like people like consistency because it gives them safety, right? Like, oh,
Yes.
you are this and this person always.
Yes.
Right. And like not consistent, it's not meaning like now I'm going to become a bad person and an evil person, right? But I change, I evolve, right?
Yeah.
That's why I ask you
Yeah.
initially.
But Anna, let me ask you then, when you're not being consistent, you're still like thinking, right? You're still processing, you're still thinking about ideas, so even if you're not
Yeah.
doing anything, it looks like I'm just looking at the wall, but there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah, and I'm consistent in my inconsistency, and there are also certain things like my values or who I am showing up at core that is always consistent for me, right? So even if I'm going to whatever present myself as, right? Like you said, an artist, a baker, whatever, the core will be the same, right? Like love, authenticity, creativity, right? Exploration, those things, even they may be presented, right, in different ways, right? That just like for you, like being a mom, being a soul business and spiritual business coach or author, the core is the same. It's like love for people, exploration, help others, right, to develop their businesses, right?
That's true.
However it's
Yeah.
presented.
And no matter what we do, we'll always be the same thing. So even if I worked at, I don't know, a library or a fast food restaurant, I would still be like asking people, do you like what you do?
I know, right?
Yeah, is there something else you'd rather be doing? Because I see you're really talented in this, you know? So no matter where we are, our core is the same. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and this is like great example. I remember we were talking about like me being a Lyft driver, right? And I had this a little shame of it and what not going on because it felt like a step down in my career, but it really showed me at core who I am because I still was like very people person, always drawn to spirituality and healing, even in my little car, giving people a little stones, so, for the future. So they remember this conversation and they get healing or healing them as we are driving, like, it's like, it's still there wherever you go, whatever you do, just like you said.
Yes,
It's not
and
about me.
wait, but you have this freedom. You have this freedom. And there's so many people I follow now who are political analysts, who are also ex-executives, and they're driving also, right? And it's like so interesting what they learn about themselves and other people and actually being with people like all the time. You're
You
you're
helped
tapped
me
in.
a lot. You helped me a lot with like transferring that thought. Because I remember I told you were the one of the first people I told about this internal shame I feel. Again, there's no
Mm,
shame in doing that. It was just me like, oh my God, I used to do this and this, and now I'm just doing this, right? Like it's like it just felt for me personally. And
mm.
I remember you saying that, like, oh my God, professor on universities are driving a car. What are you talking about? It's like, it's a lot of freedom. It's a lot of freedom. And I loved it. And I loved every minute of it, like meeting people from different walks of life, having incredible different conversation, and also connecting to different people. Because I think in certain jobs, we are very siloed, right? Or we create
Yes.
the siloed worlds and we think that the world looks like this because this is our bubble. But when you meet strangers, you open up to like so much more, an understanding of people, of the world. And actually, it was one of the most beautiful things that gave me peace and knowing that everything will be okay in the world, because I met
Mm.
so many people, strangers, who were amazing, beautiful, loving, open-minded, again doing all kind of different things.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, we are going to be fine. We are going to be fine, because I met so many people, again, so many strangers that were amazing, right? Instead of being in my bubble of advertising, for example, and just meeting the same, talking about the same things, right?
Yes. And
Anyway,
that's
I'm
what you really
always sidetracked.
That's such a good point, Anna, because this is something I think about all the time, is why is it that some people can be optimistic about what's going on in the world, right? And other people are like, no, all I see are the Epstein files. All I see is our economy and government collapsing, right? And so there's kind of like different perspectives. And so you're showing this optimistic perspective, which I think has to be earned in a certain way, because we have to go through our own shame. And it's so beautiful and powerful of you to share that, because that's the last thing we want to share is like what we're ashamed about, right? But that's the work. That is all about you're the snake shedding your skin and now moving in confidence into like everything that you love about your life and what you do. And that gets magnified. So I think that people who are able to be optimistic, it's like really this like inner work that we've done. And now we can see, because reality is a spectrum, right? Reality is like all good and bad and everything in between. But if you find yourself having done the emotional work, you actually naturally end up in a perspective that's tends to be more optimistic. And then your life is kind of surrounded by more opportunities for optimism, even though you and I and other people are kind of seeing the same things on the news, right? And so I think
Yeah.
that's actually a really, really powerful perspective to share, because a lot of people, even if they are spiritual, they can be lost. And I was lost even just last week. I was like really just stuck in like, oh, the world is so unfair and all of these things, right? And all these people are suffering. And I was really stuck in that for a good amount of time. And then I was like, I need to get out before the Lunar New Year. I was like, I need to get out of this mental space, because you don't want to bring it forward. And it's only a very small part of reality, right? So
Mhm.
being optimistic right now, I think is, it just shows that you have done work, and it shows that you're really tapped into a level of reality that is also true, you know?
Yeah. And to your point, going to and understanding these darker points and darker side, or kind of a pessimistic view, it's also important, because as in this line of work, we in some level lead people, right? Like with the thought, with how we see the life. We have to understand how we see the life, the world. We have to understand this other side, right? It's important to tap into it and understand that there are people who may be drawn to it and to sit in it and to not even leave, because that's the comfort. And then we understand how it looks like, what are the triggers, right? What is driving that, right? Like that pessimistic, negative, darker view of the world. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important too. But since you mentioned shedding of the snake,
Oh, yeah.
happy Lunar New Year, a
Thank
happy
you.
Chinese New Year. What an amazing day. I did not clean. I did not fight with anybody. What I didn't do, I did invest on stock market. I really celebrate with everything I heard on TikTok. And also I did a little research, but a lot out there about the horse year. I'm
Mhm.
very excited, and I just would love you to share your you have this amazing take on it when it comes to like energetical standpoint about like what to do and what is this energy of horse really entice and how does it feel? Do you mind sharing that? Because I loved it.
Yes, you did all the good things. That's so funny. You're so Chinese now.
Just telling you, I was Asian in my past life. I really was, and I'm so happy about it.
It
I'm
is true.
very
Yeah.
drawn to the culture and to the food. I really feel feels very familiar and very home-like and very, I love it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, there's certain places like that for me too. So I can tell you're Asian.
Yeah.
The horse, so my approach to Year of the Horse is a little different, right? But I do like highly respect the Chinese astrologers and also mainstream astrologers. And like, there's also a lot of kind of Chinese, like mystical understanding of it. And I actually think that everyone should just tune into, like, when you think of a horse, what does it mean for you, right? Because I've been tuning into the energy of the horse and specifically the energy of the fire horse, because that's the element for this year. Actually, for the next few years, it's going to be the element of fire. And so most people, they think of horse as, they move very fast. They're very intuitive, right? They can go alone or they can be with a group of horses. And so the horse has this like very nature that is very steadfast, but also can move very quickly. And fire just exacerbates that. It makes it even more powerful, even faster. So you think about like a horse with its mane on fire, just like charging ahead. And so like that is a lot of the energy for this year. And we even felt it in, January, February. It just felt like things were really, really, really fast. And there's a lot of gifts with the fire horse here. And maybe it's just my perspective because I really value the heart connection. But fire, the element fire also has to do with the heart. It has to do with the blood. It has to do with our eyes. It has to do with our heart. And so for those who have done a lot of work on really understanding what kind of life is aligned with them. And they've been starting to build a life that feels good for them, relationships that feel good. Nobody has perfect anything, but we all need to make little steps, right? To make sure like maybe our marriage is the best that it can be. Our relationship with our kids is the best that we can be. How we show up is like the best that we can be. For those of us who've done that work, you're going to watch it catch fire. So basically when the heart is, imagine like your chakras are just aligned, your heart's like aligned and it's open, it's going to catch fire. Meaning your heart's desires, if you've been taking steps, you're going to notice like big windfalls. You're going to notice like sudden opportunities that you're like, wait a second, normally it would take me years to get this opportunity, right? But it's this consistent believing in yourself and following your heart, even though maybe the world is saying, no, don't do this. This is stupid. You got to do something else. But you're like, no, I really want to do this just because I want to. Right? It's going to catch fire. It's going to like find a way to just, how fire, it can just like expand. Yeah. And so for a lot of us, the challenge is like when there's this heat, right? And fire really burns away things that aren't true so that we can see what is true. So we can see what we really want. So maybe some people this year, they might, lose their jobs. They might feel more uncomfortable in their work situation, for example, if it's not aligned. And then you really got to choose like, okay, well then I decide I'm going to try and do something else on the side, right? But then something else that you do inside, it might catch, it just might, whatever efforts you put into your heart, it's going to feel like it actually has more momentum than it did before. And so I really highly suggest for everyone, whether it's work related, and you decide, oh, I really want to pursue my writing more or more creative projects more, or I really want to spend more time with my kids, right? Like if that feels good to you, make the decision to do that because you're actually going to get more rewarded quicker because the energy is just kind of fueling it. And then for most of us, we need to learn how to get grounded and cool down because otherwise the fire will consume you. And you can look up what you are, even on ChatGPT, you can look up what your Chinese horoscope is, what your animal is, and see how it interacts with the horse. And my animal is a wood ox, and it's like it's like not friends. None of the worst, but it's like, and it's funny because my little sister's a horse and we're always like this, And so even
if you have some practice there.
Exactly. And so she does her own thing. She like never listens to me because I'm the oldest, like, I know what's good for you. So like never listens to me. Just like goes off, disappear, very, very independent minded, and so she does her own thing. She's a tattoo artist, right? She does really well. She does like really, really good work. But like when you look at your connection, like your animal versus the horse, it might give you some idea of what you need to do to make that relationship more harmonious. So for
Mhm.
me, I need to, an ox is slow. Okay. So I need to move a little faster, but I also need to take care of myself, because if I don't, then
Yeah.
fire will burn wood. Fire will literally just consume wood. And so I need to make sure I have my health. I think this is for everyone, actually. My health, my mental health, my grounding. If that is very solid, if that's a priority that you've made in your life, then, then you can move fast, but then you can rest again. And then if you need to, you can, make decisions. This is not a year for overthinking. So that's one thing that
But an
also,
action, year of action.
yeah. So if you're like, oh, should I throw this away? Just throw it away. Should I do this? Just do it. Right? It's just like you need to just decide, and you can get better and better at it.
And I love that, because also, I love your take on it, because also for people who, for example, not for example, but who are close and ride horses and understand horses.
Right.
Horse is it's a very intuitive animal. It has a notion and has an intuition of like a dog or a baby.
Yeah.
So they know, like horses know when there are bad people around and when something is inauthentic. And
Yeah.
the difference between horse and dog, obvious, besides obvious, is that, dog may like bite and dog is smaller. The energy of a horse is gigantic. So when horse like knows that something is inauthentic, is just going to like charge on you or like run away, right? Like it's just that force, right? So I
Yeah.
love this take of like hard fire authenticity, because horses know, they know, that's why they're so great animal to do therapy with, because they know how gentle they have to be with the kids that need,
Yes.
that have like neurological problems, right?
Yes.
So I think that element is also amazing. I really connected with it when you shared that, and definitely right, this grounding, right? Because like even if you are galloping a horse on a horse, you are grounded in your body because you have to hold it with your legs, right? And you have to be
Yeah.
very present with your body, even
Yes.
though you don't touch ground. You are very grounded in your body when you gallop and when you are on the horse, because you
Yes.
have to like tune with it, and you work how your bodies work together,
Yes.
right?
And,
So
that's a really beautiful point, because when you think about, what the horse means to you, I love you said instantly, oh, when you ride a horse, right? Because it's an extension of you. So if you're nervous and stressed, the horse is going to be nervous.
yes,
But if you're calm, it's like, all right, we can go, and maybe we can even run, right? And I was laughing when you talked about it, because I remember I was doing it like like a trail ride, and my friend fell off the horse. All you could hear in the back was that she fell off.
yeah,
But that's also a good thing to know, is like when you're on this big animal, you're higher up. It's like very powerful. Do you get a little scared? And what do you do when you get scared? You have to still ground yourself. You have to still breathe. You have to
yeah,
find kind of like your center of gravity, or you can fight it, and then the horse freaks out and then you fall off.
yeah,
That's a great analogy, actually.
yeah. Love it, love it. So grounding, and you said being close to the water, cooling it off, right? And also like the heart and connection to the heart and authenticity, and just making authentic. I feel it for a couple years already,
Mhm.
that there will be more and more people who are experiencing that, right? Like losing of a job, that it's may feel so scary, but it's actually a beautiful opening and invitation to more aligned, more fulfilling, and more authentic work and life. And just, as scary as it may feel, it's just about like embracing it, going with it, like feeling this emotion of the moment, right? Nobody says skip it and don't feel scared and pretend everything is great if it's not, doesn't feel really in the moment, but how to see opportunity in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel it definitely.
You look at who you become when you're at a job situation that maybe is like on the outside very lucrative and very fancy.
Yeah,
But if you look at the person that you are, is that really who you are? And sometimes you don't know until you have to leave and you do a different job, right? And then you're like, whoa, this actually makes me feel more alive. It makes me feel more connected, more optimistic, more powerful. And so everything I feel like is a gift, kind of like showing you who you really are, if you take it as a gift. And that's actually the most important thing, is like who you're being, right? And like
yeah,
every moment I ask myself, because, in life you get pressured to do a lot. And, especially if you're a mom, you get pressured to do everything. And I always come back as like, am I living the way I want to live? Am I being the person that I want to be for myself, for my kid, for my family? And then if the answer is no, then I don't do the things, even if they're great opportunities. It's like, no, I want to be this person, right? And then I just feel my power coming back to me, because the most powerful thing is you investing in yourself, right? You investing in how you want to live your life, how you want to show up.
Yeah. I love this idea of like self-reflection and checking in with yourself. Also in the context what you said with the fire horse year, right? Because we can gallop still and there'll be a lot of action, but still this grounding, and maybe this is the grounding you were talking about, element of grounding you were talking about too. Like, okay, I'm galloping on this horse, I'm taking action, but I still have to have this moment of connection and checking like, is this me? Is this truly me? Is this what I want? Right? Because we may, turn the horse around if needed, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
switch it to a slight different direction.
Yes, actually, that's a really good point, because your ability to pivot and change is really important this year. Because, and that's why actually small businesses are going to do so well compared to larger corporations, because they can't pivot. And when they make a mistake, it's like a really big mistake. But if we do something and it doesn't really work, we'll just do something else. So have that mindset that nothing is really solid this year. And this is what I've been teaching people for content too. It's like you just put out stuff and then you see what catches fire a little bit. And then you go there and then you build, your offering or, something like that. You don't just like put everything out there and just like hope that people buy it. Like you actually have to begin having conversations and seeing what conversations your clients or your audience really wants to have, what they're really interested in.
Yeah. And always going back to checking yourself, because it needs to come from the heart, right? That's like given. Talking about like energy of us, this is another of your thought that I really like and I so much resonate with, how we show up as a people, and this whole idea that I feel so much. I feel it so much for myself, but also for all of us, that we are kind of this like a part of this grid, right? And it's so important, especially these days when there's like just so much chaos going at us and division, and just those forces are trying so hard in this survival mode to kind of divide us even further and keep us in fear and keep us feel powerless and keep us not together. How important it is to understand how your energy affects this grid and how consciously direct it and unconsciously work with it. Do you mind talking about it a little bit?
Yes, that's a big question, but I love it because I think about it almost every day.
Me
And
too.
so, right? See, this is the stuff where we're just looking at the sky. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine, for example, you think about, let's say, a mother and she's struggling and maybe she's a single mom and like life can be really tough. And you think about her and you feel, what do you feel? What do you feel, Anna, when you think about her?
I just feel like I want to send her power, and I'm just like just push it, you got it, like that. Those are my thoughts, but I also feel like I feel your struggle, like I don't want to take that away, but I'm like,
Yeah, but you feel probably bad for her at
yeah,
first.
like I feel the struggle, yeah, and that's like I can't imagine how you do it, kind of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this empathy. It's like the sadness. It's just, like, oh, wow, she must be going through so much. And that's the energy that we send into the grid. It's very normal, right? We do this for ourselves, like, oh my gosh, poor me. But that energy is the energy we send to the grid. And that's the energy that also kind of surrounds her a bit more, right? But if we can see her as this, like you said, this powerful sovereign leader, and you really see her that way, like even I do this for my parents and, they're older and, they're older now and stuff, but I see them as like, he's like, powerful older people who've done a lot in their lives, and they're always surrounded by help, and they're just like thriving, right? I can feel it instantly. And
Yeah.
if anyone's ever had that experience, maybe you're having a bad day, but all of a sudden you just kind of feel better. Maybe you find a doll on the ground. I don't know, but like it really shifts people. And so it's like a kind of like a difficult thing to do, because you really have to consciously, okay, so people who are being victimized right now, people who are children, who are hurt or something, it's like, your heart goes out to them, but you're actually not sending energy that's helpful for them, right? So what you can do is see children, for example, who are suffering, like see them as like powerful beings. And they are, even though they're in a little physical body, their higher self, their soul is very powerful and it's very connected. And so if you see them as resourced, if you see them as surrounded by people who can help them, if you can see them as like, magic is around them and they'll find, safety and like, absolutely changes the grid around them, right? And I think that this is actually really good conscious work. Like if you're in a meditation, if you're doing yoga, like I would say, like send that energy out there. See everyone as sovereign, see everyone as resource, see everyone as okay. And of course, still continue to donate, still continue to like put out this change that you want to see in the world, right? I really believe in that. I really believe spirituality is activism. Like you need to like, put effort and money and time and investment in the world that you want, right? So you're not just like, oh, I'm just sending love. But when you're sending love, you're really like seeing them. Like even my little 3-year-old, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this kid is so needy. But then I shift and I'm like, okay, he actually knows what he wants, right? He actually knows how to ask for what he wants. He's expressing what he knows. He's resourced. We were talking earlier before we recorded, he's more conscious than I am. He's more connected to his heart and his emotions than I am. And then I remember, okay, hey, he's actually pretty good. I just need to help him a little bit, but he's actually like pretty good. And it just really changes how you see the world. And it really aligns, I think, us with the world that we want to be in.
Yeah, I love this notion because it's that goes to this idea of like that we generate energy for others, right? So you can still donate and help these kids, but do it from the angle of you are powerful, are you're going to be such a great leader with all this history of yours, as hard as may be, and such a amazing, powerful human being on this earth later. That's why I'm supporting you, right? Versus adding to the pain and adding to this energy of suffering, right? Like multiplying, like not only they are suffering, but now I am thinking they are suffering.
Yes.
And
that's
again,
the generational suffering,
Yeah, and as weird as it can sound, there is something in it. And also, I love this because it goes back to Kabbalah. I'm studying Kabbalah now. And in Kabbalah, they say, like, don't be worried about your kids. You shouldn't be worried about anything, but especially about your kids. Because if you are worried about your kids, you send them that energy of the worry.
Yes.
And that's create that's how you add to their reality. That worry adds to their reality. And I literally was talking to my nanny in Poland the other few weeks ago, and she was worrying about her daughter getting married. And I was like, stop worrying. You're sending there, Kabbalah says, you're sending there this energy of worry. And she was like, okay, I'm going to start working of not worrying. And she's in a relationship now.
It's amazing.